Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 47 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How you guys doing?
You mean how are you guys doing?
How you doing?
Cause Dune 2's coming out this weekend.
That's the truth. Yeah, I'm going to see it Friday night.
I'll be seeing it Saturday night.
I won't be seeing it because I didn't see the first one.
Gotta remedy that.
It's not too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late.
You just need to have like 3 hours to sit down and watch it.
Wait, Turtle, do you know anything about Dune?
Oddly enough, not really. I know it's like, the science fiction book. I'm not big on reading. I know that they made a movie, in like the 80s? And then, this is the part 2 coming out of the remake. But that's really all I know about it.
I've never seen the 80s version as well.
Like everyone that I know have seen, even like part 1 in the 80s, everyone says the book is better. Read the book.
You could say that for pretty much any movie, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
That's fair. I mean, with the book, they have more time to tell their story, where like the movie, they have to condense it to, I guess in this case, 3 hours.
I will say, Shawshank Redemption movie is way better than the Shawshank Redemption book. Granted, the book is more of a novella, so not as much paperwork to deal with book-wise.
I don't watch a lot of movies. I have seen Shawshank, and that movie is great.
Well, another, with, I'm gonna throw it out there. I know, at least one of the people in this group is playing Helldivers 2.
For
And,
democracy.
apparently a lot of people are comparing it. I've never played it, but a lot of people are comparing it to the Starship Troopers movie.
Yeah.
It may as well just be Starship Troopers the game, right?
Yeah. Well, you fight bugs and you also fight robots. So it's part Starship Troopers and it's part Terminator.
Yeah, so while knowing that, that's another case where the movie is vastly different from the book. Like very, very, very different from what I understand. Which is cool, I guess. I never read the book, but I did see the movie. It was the first rated R movie I'd ever seen, actually. Little Sean trivia for you listening at home. My first rated R movie ever was Starship Troopers.
That movie's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I don't know. My dad rented it from the video store, it showing everyone how old I am. But yeah, I remember vividly remember the shower scene. So
Oh,
that was pretty
yes.
cool. Yeah, so
Oh, yes. How can you not remember that?
yeah. Well, when you're like I don't know how old I was, 9 years old or something. Yeah, I remembered it.
It leaves an impression, that's for sure.
Yes, it does. Yeah, but it was cool. I was down with it. Even at 9, it's
Welcome
I
to
don't
the
know what else to say about
Roughnecks.
that. Yeah. But yeah, so I've read the first 4 books in the series for Dune.
I was going to say, how many books is that series?
So there's 7. So there's 7 mainline books, and then okay, there's 4. I think there's 6. Never mind. I think there's 6 in the main series, but his son kind of like kept writing his works after he passed, like the main author. Frank Herbert passed away, and his son Brian Herbert kind of like carried the torch, and Brian like expanded the universe greatly. And some people don't like a lot of the things he did, and some people do like some of the things he did. If you're a hardcore fan of the series, and you're kind of just like, consume whatever media they put out for it, then you may want to check out the expanded stuff. But if you are not like a necessarily huge fan of the series, then that's, I don't know, that's okay too. You don't have to check it out. It's whatever. I'm trying to think. I finished the 4th book. Honestly, the first book is the absolute best. My second favorite's probably the 4th book. The 4th book will never be made into a movie because it's too freaking weird. I'll tell you, man. Like the main character, possibly the main character. I don't want to spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it. But
No
the main
spoilers
character,
on this channel.
yeah, the main character is very they're kind of like 2 main characters, and the main character is very, gosh, how do I say non-spoilery? Let's just not talk about it. The
We're
point is,
just gonna move on.
there's no marketability to the common man. Uh, like like they can get young people to go see this because like Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya are in the new movies, right? That's like really all everyone cares about, there won't be any marketability for that movie. That is a fact. So yeah, but I'm a big fan of the '80s movie. My dad really got us into it when we were young because it's probably his favorite. I think it's his favorite science fiction book. So we were doomed from the start, or we were doomed
I was gonna
from the
say
start.
doomed or duned.
We were doomed from the start. But yeah, I had no choice but to be a nerd. That's just it's in the family. It's in the blood.
The real question with this movie is, are you gonna get the popcorn bucket
Mm,
for science reasons?
I actually kind of wanted the popcorn bug because of how ridiculous it is. You know, for science and stuff.
For science, of course.
Yeah.
Well, science.
I was considering getting it for science, but I'm not. I think it was only in AMC theaters, right? And I'm not going to an
Yes.
AMC theater,
Yeah.
so
I
that's
think
kind
they
of.
already have the bucket for sale though.
Yeah, I think they did. Which is kind of surprising that they would sell like before the movie comes out. Doesn't really make a
Yeah.
lot of sense to me, but I don't know.
Turtle, have you real quick Turtle, have you seen this popcorn bucket?
No, I have not.
All right, do yourself a favor and Google it real quick.
All right, I'm pulling up the Google. Hold on here.
Yeah,
Dune 2
the
Dune
sooner
2
you do it.
popcorn bucket.
Oh, there it is. Google pulled
Yeah.
it up for me. Let's images. What am I looking at? What is that? Oh my word. Okay. Oh, it's okay.
It's science.
Yeah. Wow. Weird.
Just think of how much butter you could put in that.
Oh, jeez.
This is taking a turn I was not expecting. Wow.
For your
Okay.
popcorn. What do you think I'm talking about?
Obviously, it's got to be popcorn. I mean, look at it. The amount of popcorn that can be put in this bucket is just absurd.
You sure could put a lot of popcorn in the bucket.
There- I just I just found a meme. It's the Office Space meme. Dune 2 popcorn buckets at the same time. So real-time reaction to whoever made that meme. Thank you. All
It's fantastic.
right, we're moving on.
Are we?
You guys ready to talk about some free rent?
Is there a free run popcorn bucket?
Not yet, but there could
Oh,
be. There
maybe.
could be. Free rent movie. Let's go.
I mean, as long as it looks something like the Dune one, I'm in.
Each free rent bucket comes with a free clothes dissolving potion.
Oh, heck yeah.
All right.
Oh, crap. I didn't even think about a movie. You know, like a lot of popular anime get movies. I don't know if this is going to wrap up in one season. Do we know?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I feel like it can't.
Yeah, I feel like there has to be more story to tell, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just wishful thinking. I just want there to be more story.
And I'm even fine with like having a movie prequel or just a totally its own entity, a spin-off, and they go on a quick adventure and then come back to the main plot. I don't care. I want more free run content.
Yeah, I get that. Feel that in my soul.
All right, you guys ready?
Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
All right, today we are talking about episodes 15 and 16 of Free Ren Beyond Journey's End. Episode 15 Smells Like Trouble.
And make it double.
29 years after the death of Himmel the hero in the Lob Hills, located in the Northern Lands. The party is traveling and talking amongst themselves. Zine asks how long the group has been traveling together since everyone seems so close. Fern says she's been traveling for 4 years, but has known Frieren longer. Stark says he's been with them for over a year. Zine asks the group what they are missing. Fern mentions a thief who could outswindle the mimics Frieren keeps falling for. We then cut to a scene of a lone chest in a room, and Frieren yells out, "Yay!" with a visual exclamation point above her head, like Snake from Metal Gear Solid, only for her to get eaten again. Please, show creators, never stop this joke. It's amazing.
You could argue they go to the well one too many times. I would argue I like this joke too much. Just keep beating it into the ground. Like I'm totally okay with it actually.
It's so good.
They pulled back for how many times we saw it in the first two episodes. They pulled back nicely on it, so to not overdo it.
I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah,
So, bringing it back again, it's like, well, we've had a few, like 4 pretty serious, plot episodes, and now we're back to some silliness. So bring back the mimics. Frieren replies, when it comes to treasure chests, the rewards always outweigh the risks. Zine says no, and says that they are missing a nice older lady. Stark asks, what about Frieren? But Zine says she is more like an older child. Very true.
No risk it, no biscuit. Sign just wants us to ship him. He's like, hey, Anime Banter podcast, you guys are doing a great job shipping Stark and Fern. Can you get me a nice older lady to ship?
Well, if he's patient, he might get his chance.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I could argue in this episode he misses a chance.
They enter the nearby village and find everyone has fallen asleep. People are just laying in the street as if they just passed out and can't wake up. Frieren suggests they all move on quickly, and Fern says that that's cold, even for Frieren. She must not remember how she treats Stark on a daily basis. Frieren says that she was only joking. Zine recognizes that the people are affected by a curse, and regular magic cannot help. Only the magic of the goddess from a priest can help. It's time for our new party member to flex.
Frieren really needs to work on her inflection when it comes to telling jokes. It's like, all right, if you want to use sarcasm, cool, but like, you need to have some sort of inflection in your voice to make it seem sarcastic. But I really like how this show dedicates some time to show off the powers of each new party member when they join.
Yeah, I always thought like the pacing for that's been really good.
Like it could be so easy to just be like, oh yeah, we have a new party member. Okay, cool. Moving on. You don't really see what they do until the next big arc.
And I always worry about things becoming too formulaic. You know what I mean? Like your Monster of the Week shows. You know what I mean? We're like, oh look, this is the demon they're fighting this week. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but instead they actually do a really good job of like every episode feels different. And I actually don't mind that most episodes are split into kind of like two individual stories.
Frieren explains that the magic of the goddess comes from the holy textbooks, and only those who have a gift and have read the books can use what I'm going to call holy magic from now on. Apparently, it is difficult to control, but those who can wield holy magic have a resistance to curses. Regular mages are unable to detect curses, so they cannot defend against them. Frieren says she feels as if she's under attack, so the curse must still be in effect. Fern says her soul feels itchy, and Stark starts to cry. He says not to say stuff like that, or he will turn into a baby. We know, buddy. We know.
I will say, while I was watching this episode, I'm like, if this curse is still present, why isn't it affecting anyone besides Sign? Like he's the only one who should not be affected by it.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that I really like the explanation for the holy magic and why Freeren can't master it, or why she's not interested in it at the very least. Regarding that, they just do a really good job of explaining and doing world building. I just really like it. Also, the "my soul feels itchy" statement cracked me up. I don't know why, just like that statement is just really funny to me.
I was trying to fathom what that would actually feel like.
I don't want to know.
My soul feels itchy.
I was wondering that too. It's like, how do you know what your soul itching feels like?
Such a good line.
It's like we've all had that itch that's like, ugh, my back's itchy, and then like the itch moves to like your side, and then it's up your arm. It's like no matter where you scratch, it somewhere else is always itchy.
That's the worst. I hate that.
Maybe that's what it feels like when your soul is itchy.
Zine discovers the curse is coming from a monster, and he can sense where it is. As the group sets out to slay it, Stark slides to the ground and falls asleep.
How about that transition, folks?
Frieren says they better hurry. As the group travel through the forest, they use magic to bring Stark along. They rest and start a campfire, but Fern passes out next. Frieren puts up a barrier around our sleeping ship, and she continues with Zine into the forest. As they approach the monster, Frieren tells Zine to wake her when the monster shows up and promises to defeat it. She then lands face first in the dirt. Ouch.
It's fair to assume that the monster eats mana, that would kind of explain why Stark went first, because he has the lowest mana out of all of the party members. Everyone else is a magic user of some sort and has exercised their mana and built it up. But yeah, not a lot for Stark, so it only makes sense that he once again is the first person to just fall to whatever environment they're in.
Zine carries Frieren to a tree near the monster. He says she can't beat it in 5 seconds. Ha! Don't make me laugh. Zine says he has battle magic too. Time to see what holy magic can do. Our monster in question is a subspecies of a chaos flower. It's a giant flower with tentacle like stem branches. I just don't like the look of this thing, it's really creepy. As the fight begins, Zine has this inner monologue to explain to us, the viewer, what the flower is. The chaos flower grows and changes based on the flora in the area. It feeds on the mana of its sleeping victims until they die. They all have the same weak point, however. Zine attacks the center of the flower, but it guards using its leaves and reflects his magic.
I love when we get inner monologues for characters explaining like their thought process. We got it with Ara, and we're getting it here with Sign. It's just like a cool concept. Like it would be very easy to just like skip over that, but like it's like, oh yeah, I know these flowers. This is what they do. Like it's a good way to inform us, the viewers, of what's going on. And even though Zine's attack was blocked, that was a cool looking attack.
It was.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I do like the design of the enemy here. Pretty solid.
Zine doesn't know what to do. His attacks are being deflected, and if he wakes Frieren, he won't have enough time to explain the situation in only 5 seconds before she falls asleep again. He remembers Heiter telling him long ago that he never knew what Frieren was thinking, but he always trusted her words.
This flashback was awesome. I really hope we get more of Hyder teaching Zine.
Yeah, I mean they make it seem like at first it made it seem like he kind of just passed through town, but if you got to know someone long enough to give them that pendant that he had, then you had to spend at least a little bit of time there, right? So maybe he spent more time there than I thought.
He decides to cast his awakening spell. He turns to Frieren and shouts, "Only the core!" But Frieren has already cast her attack magic. She fires a blast to the left, and it bends back at the monster and hits it dead center. Get it? Dead center? Because the monster's dead.
I see what you did there.
Ha ha!
This was so cool. The animation was just great. I think that the we need to praise the animation studio. Everything was pleasing to the eye. Something that I kind of missed saying before though was when Zion was reflecting on Furon's abilities as a mage in the party of heroes. He noted during the fight that if the spell gets deflected, it's going to absolutely destroy all of them and the village. So he's very scared to wake her up. Remember a few episodes, I think that she said that Himmel would school her because she used to use flashy attack magic, and he's like, "Stop doing that." And it seems like she may have taken that to heart back in the day. So if she was a novice adventurer, her spell would have just gotten deflected, and this would probably be the end of our adventure. But instead, Frieren does super cool stuff again.
Stark awakes to find Fern sleeping against him. This is new, he says. Ship, ship, ship.
Ship, ship, ship.
Ship, ship, ship.
With the village now awake, they thank Zine and the party for helping them. The nice older lady tells Zine she has never been happier to have her sleep disturbed. Congrats, Zine, you got your nice older lady.
It was really nice to see Frieren appreciating Zine, and I got a good laugh out of her skipping next to him and then patting him on the head while saying "good boy."
And she's so short compared to how tall he is. So it's really funny for her to try to jump up there and pull his head down so she can pat him.
Yeah, I like how she, ever since her discussion with Hyder, enjoys giving people praise, especially holy men. She just really enjoys that, I guess. In addition to that, I do like that Sign getting words of thanks from the village MILF really lifts his spirits. So I really
You
like.
just had to go there, huh?
Yeah, well, they're just like they're like usually like the town mayor would thank you, but I'm like, no, they gotta have the good-looking older lady thank him. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, that's not to say she's not the village mayor, but they didn't explicitly say yes or no to that. She might just be, good-looking old lady who lives in the village. I don't know.
29 years after the death of Himmel the hero, at the fortress city Vorig, located in the Northern Lands. The party is halfway to Alcest and want to stop for supplies, but Fern says they have no money. Just then, a noble and his butler approach Stark and start feeling him up. They tell him to get in the carriage. Um, is this an abduction?
Stark, for once, is rightfully freaking out. This was such a random encounter. They're like, get in. It's like, why?
I very much laughed at his reaction here because I would have been much more violent, I think.
Yeah, it's not just Stark being a scaredy cat; it's him having a real reaction. But hey, at least they got the plot moving along quickly on this one.
That is true. The noble explains his son was killed fighting against the demons in a large battle. Few know he has died, and they spread the rumor that he is recovering from a wound from the battle. Stark is a close match, so they have 3 months to teach him etiquette to prepare him for a big ball. The noble will pay them 10 gold pieces, which apparently is enough for 3 meals a day plus snacks for a year. Frieren says to sweeten the deal with a grimoire, as if the money wasn't enough.
Oh, she knew she was gonna accept it for sure, but she's like, yeah, we gotta get free rent of grimoire.
I mean, it lines up perfectly with Frieren. She doesn't care about the money. She wants the magic.
It's true.
I also love how Stark brought up his scar. He's like, how are you explaining this? He's like, and the Lord's like, oh yeah, we'll just say it was a battle scar. It works perfectly.
He's not wrong.
I also want to point out there are a couple like plot holes with this scenario. I feel like I'm like there's so many ways you can poke holes in this. Like I'm like, yep, literally no one who's gonna be at this ball has ever met him before this. You know what I mean? He's like he's only close with his family, and I'm like, I call bullcrap. He's like the oldest son of a noble. Like he has responsibilities. It has absolutely met people like who are important. So I don't know how I feel about like this scenario being like the reason, but yeah, I'm gonna roll with it. Because I don't know, it's anime. Like just don't think too hard about it.
There's definitely a little anime logic in this part of the episode here.
They did look pretty similar in the picture, the painting on the wall, and Stark. So
That's true. All right, I guess I'll go through my thought process here. Number one, regional dialects. The mountain dialect that Stark's village had would be completely different from the dialect here. He'd have to change the way he speaks. And maybe that these etiquette lessons do teach him how to talk differently. But that's one piece that I have noticed. Like what would have made a difference, I think. So, and then there's I explained the other one. How I'm like, oh yeah, no one in the village knew him for sure. So I don't know. It's not it's not a real problem. I just I'm a little picky about the scenario. I think it's a little off.
We get a montage of Stark training in etiquette. As he stumbles down the hall, he runs into Fern. She asks how the training is going, and Stark says it is slowly killing him. He then drops to one knee and grabs Fern's hand. He asks her how he did. Fern responds with, "It doesn't suit you." He says, "Typical," and continues stumbling down the hall to get some fresh air. Fern stares at her hand. Ship, ship, ship.
ship, ship, ship.
She's like, it doesn't suit you, but it doesn't mean she didn't like it.
I was gonna say this training is definitely helping the ship. I don't care
Oh,
what Fern says.
absolutely.
Yeah, my prediction when they started showing the montage, here was my prediction. I said we're gonna get to the ball, and he's gonna have to dance with a girl who's not Fern, and then Fern's gonna get jealous, and then she's gonna get mad at him for doing something mundane, and he's not gonna understand why she's really mad at him, and then he's gonna have to chase her outside, and then he's gonna have to apologize to her, and then their relationship won't really move, but they'll be in a happier place. That was my prediction based on tropes, because I know a lot of tropes, so I was like, this is where this is going to go. I the great predictor of romantic subplots, will guess. I was actually very wrong, um, about where this was going to end up.
As Lord Orden, we find out who our noble is named. As Lord Orden teaches Stark the sword style of his family and talks of his younger son, Stark can't help drawing a comparison to himself. This is a great moment for Stark, but I have to change the subject here a little bit. Mike, you said in a previous episode that Stark was going to grab the hero sword from the stone, to which I said he wields an axe. Well, guess what? I am now beginning to think that he will pull that sword and he's going to learn to use it too. I never really noticed this on my first watch of the show, but I think you're onto something there.
Hey, Stark the hero.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Yeah, he said he looked at that hero sword and he's like, "I'll be back."
I'll come get you later.
Yeah, he's definitely pulling that sword. Like, there will be some reason in the plot that we go back to that village,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's pulling that sword. Either something's gonna happen, like Fern and Frieren might get like captured, or something's gonna happen where like he's on his own, and like he loses his axe, and he's like, I need to like find a weapon, and he knows, oh, that village has a sword. It called to me. I'm gonna try and pull it, and it's just gonna come right out for him.
Or hear me out. He's gonna teach that technique to his son with Fern, and his son is gonna be the hero.
That's still a
Ship,
possibility. Not going to rule that out.
Yeah, but
ship.
relearning the sword techniques could lead to some really fun scenes later in case something happens and his axe breaks or something like that and he has to use a sword. Could be a fun moment. Um, Lord Orden seemingly knew a lot about Stark's village and knew how brutal learning swordsmanship was there. He's a really good mentor and a seemingly good father.
I was gonna say I really love that flashback comparing Stark as a child to Orden's son when they were both learning, like Orden's new heir, his youngest son, training, and then we see Stark as a child training, and like you see Stark's father like, you're worthless, you suck, don't ever become a warrior, like you're 8 years old and you don't know how to use a wooden sword, how dare you? And then we see Orden like encouraging his son. And then to see the encouragement that Orden shows to Stark was incredible.
It was a great scene. And I think Orden did mention, which I don't think I took notes on about, but I'm pretty sure he mentioned that his family lineage can actually be traced to Stark's village originally. So I think that they kind of use that as like a bridge as to why Stark looks so similar. Is like, oh, he originally harkens from the same village. So maybe they're like distantly related somehow.
They could be.
Fern and Frieren are stuffing their faces with donuts when Fern is told that she has to learn etiquette and attend the ball with Stark. Ship, ship, ship.
Ship, ship, ship.
Orden is definitely on board with the ship. Though I do like when he refers to Frieren as Stark's mommy. It's the second time he's done it this episode, I think.
Yep.
First time he's like, "Does your mommy speak for you?" But
And then
Orden gets it.
he's like, "Do you want to take your mommy to the ball instead?" And I love how Frieren nopes the fuck out of being voluntold to escort Stark.
Yeah, Frieren's like, "Yeah, this will be a nightmare." She's like, "Let the young people be tortured. I want nothing to do with it."
After a quick montage of Fern learning the ways of etiquette, we arrive at the ball. Fern tells Stark that the last month of her training was grueling and apologizes to Stark. He asks her to dance since they've been practicing for so long. Fern is shocked when Stark takes charge on the dance floor. Ship, ship, ship.
Ship, ship, ship.
We got to do
Yeah,
that every time now.
I,
yeah.
I
I would say I was like, I'm starting to get a little tired of yelling ship.
I was gonna. These last couple episodes have been heavy on the shipping.
They really have.
They have
Um,
been. I'm happy about it though.
I will say Stark and Fern clean up well.
Indeed.
Yeah.
A handsome couple.
Also, while they're dancing, Fern definitely has a crush growing on Stark during the dancing. And also, did you guys notice that Fern was wearing white?
Oh,
Yeah, she was, but I don't know if that me. I don't know if there's symbolism there necessarily.
Oh, there's symbolism.
Yeah, I don't know. This scene, um, I'm glad they didn't like have them dance instead of it. Okay, in a lot of these shows, there will be a ball scene, and then they'll find a reason for them to leave the party. Whether there's an enemy attack, or there will be a yeah, like I mentioned before, how like someone will get jealous and run out of the party. So there's really only a little bit of time at the party, but here they actually stay at the party and like show you how the party plays out. And it's just a regular party where no one gets kidnapped or magic hijinks don't happen or there's no heist or I'm like this is incredible from a storytelling standpoint having them go to a ball and actually have the ball happen and have the characters participate in the ball instead of having weird other plots at the same time. It's almost unheard of.
Before we move on, I have to talk about this dance scene. Normally, in a lot of other shows, like Sean was saying, this would be like a scene where you would, try to cut corners somewhere, and the animation quality might dip and go down. But only in Frieren does the animation quality go up. My God, does this scene look incredible? Like the movement of the characters, Fern's dress and her hair movement while they're dancing, everything just looks so great and so fluid. Like, how long did this take to animate?
And one thing I do want to point out about Free Rent is that the mangaka is a woman, and I feel like it shows in the writing. And I actually mean that is the highest compliment possible because there was a ball scene where there was no fighting. If a man was writing this, I'm just throwing out there, Fern's dress would have been super low cut and she would have had less clothes on than she had. And, the ball would have been interrupted by a villain. And you know what I mean? Like, it's drawn and the music, it's so elegant. Everything about this is elegant and classy. And Fern's reactions are that of, I think what a woman's reaction might be to having a man take the lead on the dance floor. So, having a woman write a woman's reaction to like a strong man taking the lead on the dance floor. Obviously, women all would have a different reaction to this type of thing. But the mangaka's point of view, through Fern, right? That's what Fern's point of view would be, according to the manga. And the anime, I don't know if the manga does a really good job of showing it, but the anime did a fantastic job of conveying what the author wanted it to convey. So I really I cannot give them enough credit for this scene as well. As you pointed out, Turtle. It's just so well done. They upped their game.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, so many shows, shown in battle shows, they put all the time and money and animation into these fight scenes. So to see a ballroom dance look this good is just so strange to me, and I love it, and I want more of it. Zine asks Freeren if she wants to dance. Freeren says she wants to eat, and she digs into this piece of cake. I love Freeren.
She's so great.
She makes me laugh. Stark has a touching farewell with Lord Orden, and we cut to Freeren in the library looking for a grimoire.
I really wish we got out of more out of the Orden and Stark relationship and mentoring and training and everything. Like just the way they interacted with each other was so great. Like Stark could actually see him in a father figure role, and Orden could see Stark in a son role, and it was just it was heartwarming, and I wish we got more of it.
This half episode, I'm glad you said that, Mike. This half episode easily could have been a whole episode.
Yeah, absolutely. They could have spent a lot more time with Stark and Orden together, but
I almost kind of wish they'd taken the time for it.
they had to make room for the ball scene.
I mean, they could have still had it.
No time for relationships. We need to dance. Fern tells Freegun to hurry up for poor Mr. Gabel, the butler. This poor guy has just been standing there for like half a day while Freeren tries to find the grimoire she wants. Stark sees Lord Orden training his second son, and Stark realizes he won't have to worry about the boy. We get the credits over top of the final clips here, and the episode ends without a closing theme.
I was bummed we didn't get the usual end credit song, but I absolutely loved the music they played over top the final scene.
It was very good. All the music in this show has been good.
Usually when they do this sort of thing, it kind of means that I would kind of call this the mid-season finale, probably, because usually whenever they do that in an anime, it's kind of like it's a transition period. Usually after this we would get like a new opening or ending theme, but I'm not so sure that. Tell me if I'm wrong. Aren't the opening and ending the same in the next episode?
They
Yes.
are.
Yeah,
So
so maybe it's not a transition and they just wanted to run the ending credits because maybe the ball scene took longer than they thought and they had too much animation footage and just ran the credits over the show because they could.
It's a nice change of pace, too, just to break things up a little bit. Speaking of breaking things up, I think it's time for a tasty beverage of the week.
and now it is time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer comes to you from 4 Points Brewing, and it is their Up Tempo, a 7% New England Hazy IPA, hopped with Nelson and Pacific Sunrise hops. This beer had a really nice citrus flavor, and this is the first time for this show that I've picked something from 4 Points, but I really love 4 Points beer. I've never had a bad beer from them. They're located in Charleroi, PA, small town. But my buddy Bobby, he'll work out by their brewery pretty frequently. And during COVID, when a lot of breweries were to go only, we would pretty much do beer exchanges. Like, all right, I'm gonna go to this brewery, pick up some 4 packs. Who wants to split 4 packs? And we just sort of do that. And he would always pick stuff from 4 Points up, and it was always excellent. So if you're in the area, definitely check out 4 Points. Their beer is fantastic. I think you all will really enjoy it. With that said, I get the untapped average rating is a 4.25, and I give it a 3.75.
Episode 16 Long Lived Friends. We see a young Zine fishing when his buddy Gorilla tells him a mage is in town and the mage is willing to take their picture. Zine doesn't know what that is, but Gorilla grabs him and says that this is the beginning of their adventure. In the present day, everyone is sleeping by the campfire and Zine is looking at the photo of him and Gorilla. I'm going to refer to his friend as Gorilla from now on. It's just easier.
Why gorilla?
We will find out.
Are we sure that they have ever seen a gorilla? Like, do they really know what a gorilla looks like? Do gorillas even exist in this world? I mean, I guess apparently, obviously, but that's a tropical climate. Gorillas are tropical climate. There's no tropical climate here, right? So I'm kind of surprised they would go by gorilla. That's just me being picky about the writing again after last episode.
I mean, they are in the northern lands, which is, not tropical, so I don't
Yeah, that's
know.
what I was saying. Yeah, they're in the northern lands, northern towards the Arctic.
Pretty snowy there. Bad winters, 6 months.
Just saying. I don't know. It's me being picky, but either way, it's a stupid name. I bet it sounds better in the Japanese version.
Well, I wonder about that. I haven't watched it, so I'm curious to see if they still call him Gorilla Warrior.
Well, you know what you're doing after we're done recording.
I'm gonna go back and watch the whole show again in Japanese.
It's a pretty good show. Wouldn't be so bad to watch it again.
It is good. 29 years after the death of Himmel the hero in the Klar region, located in the northern lands. The party is heading to a village with an old friend of Frieren's, a dwarf named Old Man Vol.
Was he known as Young Manville when he was younger? I'll see myself out.
Old Man Vol has been guarding the village for over 400 years. Zine says dwarfs usually live to be around 300 years old. Frieren wants to talk to him one more time before he dies. Fern says a detour is okay, and Frieren thanks her. She says the party will spend a decade or so there, to which Fern gives her a week at the most. As they come to the village gate, they see Old Man Vole. He's sitting on a rock, and Stark says he's decrepit. Frieren says he should not be pretending to be senile. Right then, he snaps into action and uses his sheathed sword to take out Stark's legs, and he falls to the ground. Old Man Vole tells him that most deaths in battle come from the careless underestimation of your opponent. As Stark is unable to rise to his feet, Old Man Vole tells him that injuries can be the end of him. As the rest of the party walk into the village, Stark says he can't get up. Frieren tells him that's okay, since he's training with Old Man Vole.
Maybe it was just me, but Old Man Vol sort of reminds me of Patches O'Houlihan, Rip Torn's Rip Torn's character from Dodgeball.
I I kind of get it.
I didn't think about that. You're kind of right. I like
If you
it.
can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. If you dodge my cane, you can dodge a demon. I don't know.
You can dodge a demon.
I don't know why. Like, I don't know why it popped into my head, but like, I was watching this scene, and that was the first thing I thought of.
I don't know, like absolutely insane old man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Training the next generation. There's a good reference. He also reminded me about how Flama taught Freerun the same lesson pretty much about like demons are very arrogant and they underestimate their opponents. And that was the reason Flama was able to kill so many demons when she was trading Freerun was because she could hide her mana, they underestimated her. Then she blew them the heck away, right? She just blew them away. And that's the same way Freerun fights. She never underestimates her opponent. She lets her opponents underestimate her and takes advantage of it. So it seems that being against arrogance is a theme of this show. Anti-arrogance, I guess. Being humble.
As the others are given a house to stay in, Frieren says they are going to need work if they are staying for 10 years. Fern corrects her and says they are only staying for a week. Frieren pouts. We see Fern and Zine help harvest the crops and talking to the young farmhand. The young man tells them no one knows why Old Man Vole protects the village, but he has been there longer than the villagers have been alive. We also get a montage of Old Man Vole training with Stark. Poor Stark. He's really getting put through the ringer here. We also see Frieren talking with Old Man Vole, and I don't recall ever seeing her this happy in previous episodes.
it's really nice seeing Free Rent so happy. She's happy every once in a while, but not this happy.
It is really nice to see. I think that she gets really excited when she sees people from her old adventure because there's so few of them left. So when she sees someone she recognizes, she really gets like really excited about it. That number of people is really slowly dwindling.
And then watching Old Man Vol train Stark felt like Yoda training Luke. Like, all that was missing was Old Man Vol being Stark's backpack while he ran.
Instead, he just sat on a big rock while Stark carried the rock.
Yeah, like I love um Yoda in in the like the original trilogy because he's just like a crazy old man. He's like completely unhinged. You know, like when you watch like the prequels versus like Yoda later, you're like, man, years were not kind to him. Uh, because he's just like absolutely insane. And old man Vol's kind of the same. Or he's just like a crazy old man. But also, man, poor Stark has to train everywhere he goes.
And when he's not training, he's getting yelled at by Fern.
Yeah,
Frieren asks how the training went after the week is up. Old Man Vole says that he has improved quite a great deal in such a short amount of time and is impressed how quickly humans grow. Frieren thanks Old Man Vole for giving her a reason to get to know Himmel and the others. We flash back to the heroes' party and learn that Old Man Vole protects the village because his wife used to live there. Old Man Vole says it is silly to keep a promise to the dead. Himmel agrees, but says that it is still important, and his wife would be happy knowing Old Man Vole kept his promise. Himmel says that Frieren must remember the party since she will live the longest. Frieren agrees to it if she must. Himmel says that he has a handful of heroic poses for her to remember, and Frieren quickly changes her mind.
This flashback was so dang touching.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Himmel's amazing, and I like that Vol. I like when Frieren can speak to other people who also have insights on near immortality, because well, Vol's far from immortal, but compared to humans, he may as well be. But I like when she speaks to them because she's not new to being immortal, but I think she hasn't really thought about it too much compared to, I don't know, like compared to some of the other immortal people we meet. Like Croft had incredible insights into being immortal because he has had a lot longer than her to think about it, based on what I understand. So I don't know. It was a good scene.
Old Man Vull asks Frieren if she still remembers Himmel's face and voice. Frieren says she remembers everything, and that it matters to her. Old Man Vull says that he can no longer remember his wife's face or voice, but he still protects the village all the same.
This scene hit me hard and it hit me deep. As you guys know, I lost my dad a couple years ago. And like I still remember his face. It also helps that we have pictures of him all over the place. I remember his voice, but like part of me is like, okay, well, I remember that stuff now, but am I gonna remember his voice in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Like, will I forget what his voice sounds like at some point? And like same thing, we just had to put our dog down. It's like we remember his mannerisms and like we miss him dearly. But it's like, are we gonna like a year down the road, 2 years down the road, are we gonna forget what his bark sounded like and some of the antics that he would get up to? So like this scene really hit me hard.
Yeah, the show really likes to bring those feelings of existential dread. That is a fact. But I think about it. I'm in my 30s, and I feel like I've forgotten a lot from like high school and earlier. Remember, I had a friend in preschool named John, and he was my best friend in preschool. And I feel like I can barely remember what he looks like, let what he looked like back then, let alone like what his voice sounded like. Obviously, his voice would sound completely different today, so I don't know if it's quite as relevant. But it's kind of weird that there was a person I considered my best friend, and I can feel like I can barely remember them, which is really a shame. But yeah, I guess memory is a tricky thing.
Old Man Vull asks where Frieren is heading to. She tells him Aureole, the land where souls rest. It's in the Enda region where the Demon King's castle is. Old Man Vull asks if Frieren is finally going to defeat the Demon King and bring about the era of peace his wife spoke of. Frieren is about to tell Old Man Vull that the Demon King has already been defeated, but instead says that she is forming a new memory of Old Man Vull to take with her into the future. He says he likes that idea and is glad he got to see her before he dies. Frieren says that he said the same thing 80 years ago.
Whew. This scene went hard emotionally. Like when he old man Vol's like, "Oh, are you gonna go defeat the Demon King?" And like Friedren was ready to like tell him, "Oh yeah, we already did that." And it's like it just makes you think of like dementia and Alzheimer's and like it's just like hard to have to watch people go through that.
Yeah, that runs in my wife's family, and I saw her grandfather go through that. And this scene just kind of took me back to that and seeing like their family go through the hard time. This scene was absolutely heartbreaking for those reasons. And this show really is not afraid to touch on subjects a lot of other shows wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
As the party leaves the village, Old Man Vol tells Frieren he dreamt of his wife, and that reminiscing with Frieren must have shook something loose in the old noggin. Frieren says she'll see him later. Anyone else think that we're going to see him again once we reach Aureole?
Oh yeah, I was totally thinking we're gonna see old man Vol again at some point.
There's definitely a chance of that.
29 years after the death of Himmel the Hero, on Roar Road, located in the Northern Lands. Zine stops to ask a man if he has seen his bestie gorilla. Shark asks how anyone would remember a guy from 10 years ago. Zine says that he leaves an impression and calls himself Gorilla Warrior. Shark asks what his real name is, but Zine can't remember. He says everyone just called him Gorilla Warrior, and Zine's code name is Goatee Priest. Frieren asks if he was called Goatee Priest before he had a goatee. Fern is just over this conversation.
This It's a hell of a name to call yourself. I am calling myself Guerrilla Warrior. And then like Freeren's like, so did you call yourself goatee priest before you had a goatee? Like, it's a very valid question.
Yeah, I do want to throw out. I love Friren's sense of humor. Like, even though she sometimes seems like she doesn't really get human interactions and things like that, she sometimes just brings like the really funny stuff.
They stop in a village that actually remembers Guerrilla Warrior, and they are advised to check with the stubborn old woman who knew him well.
All right, I don't know if this was a dubbing issue or not, but I love how Sign is like, oh, did someone pass through here known as Gorilla? And the villager's like, I don't know. I don't really remember talking about anyone with the name Gorilla. And then he sees the picture. He's like, oh, you mean Mr. Gorilla Warrior? It's like, he's like, oh yeah, he made a name for himself. It's like, how many people in this realm can go by Gorilla or something revolving around Gorilla?
When we don't even know if they exist in this realm.
Yeah, I don't know how you could like be like, no, I don't know anyone by the name of Gorilla Warrior, and they're like, oh yeah, that's Gorilla Warrior. Sir, I just asked you if you knew Gorilla. Like, you could have answered me truthfully the first time.
I also love how we have abandoned names for on the nose titles. The stubborn old woman says she will not give them any information for free, and the party has to do chores to earn the information. Frieren says this happened with Himmel and the party all the time. A montage of chores ensues.
Yep, fetch quests eternally.
Was I the only one surprised that there wasn't a mimic in the montage?
Just a mimic randomly hanging out in the forest.
I was also thinking when they said a stubborn old lady, I was like, oh, is this Zine's chance? And then now that Zine's in the party, we're gonna see a lot more old women, if you know what I mean.
The stubborn old woman has one final chore to polish an old statue of some heroes long forgotten. As we arrive at the statue, we see a priest and holy crap, that's Croft!
I love how they were setting this up to make you think it was going to be a statue of Freeren's party from back in the day.
The I love the I've talked about it before, the open threads that the author leaves when they introduce you to a character and they leave just enough out there that you're like, we may run into them again. And Croft apparently was a great hero, great enough to get a statue of himself somewhere. And he said, he's like, everyone who knew the tales of my adventures are long gone. We go to this village, and Freeren asked, think about it before. Freeren asked, it's been almost 100 years since we beat the Demon King. And they went to one of the towns and they said, will they still be celebrating this in 100 years? And he said, probably. She said, what about 1,000? He said, hard to guess that far. What did Croft say? He was adventuring. What were his adventures? Maybe about 400 years ago? Or did I make that number up?
I don't remember if they actually gave a time period, just the fact that nobody remembered his deeds.
Yeah, and it leads you to believe that, number one, uh, Himmel had all those statues put up so people would remember them. And it's brilliant because there's a good chance that in another generation or two, people would already forget Himmel, the hero's name, if he didn't have those statues there. Because that's just how these things work. People just forget legends. They're legends of great heroes, and they may be documented, but maybe the story falls out of favor and it's not as relevant as it used to be. So I'm sure there are a ton of stories about great heroes from lost civilizations that we've never heard, yet their feats of strength and bravery should still be told to this day. Um, it's a little depressing though that no one remembers Croft's name, because you realize that he's like, yeah, I get why he has to go to the goddess. He's like, yeah, there's no one left to praise me. My heroic deeds are done. And I'm like, dang, dude, go do some more heroic deeds. He obviously still has the body for it.
Dude's jacked. We find out Zine and Gorilla have seen this statue before, and Heiter gave Zine the name Goatee Priest. Guerrilla Warrior chose his name so that his story would never be forgotten. Zine finds out that Guerrilla was heading to a town called Tur, in the opposite direction of Alcest. Zine has a decision to make. Cue the ending credits. Why is it over?
Good to know that Gorilla Warrior is still amongst the living, and we're totally heading to Tur.
Well, when you say still against the living, I mean, until we see this man alive, I'm not convinced. I have a feeling he's gonna be dead.
It has been 10 years.
That's fair. I mean, they made it seem like he just passed through town recently.
Maybe, maybe I'm blowing out of proportion here, but I'm very worried based on the way this story is very emotionally impactful that they're gonna make us think about it. Yeah, make us think about death and stuff. We are Sex Move On. We're here to make you think about death and stuff.
No, that
Sorry,
was the other show. We did that
yeah,
already.
wrong show. Yeah, wrong show. Sorry, guys. We finished reviewing that one.
We did that one already. So what'd you guys think of these 2 episodes?
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, they kicked some butt. Like these are two great episodes, and I like that. These are kind of like low energy episode. Well, okay, the first half of the first one was high energy, but the rest of it's been kind of low energy. But I've been enjoying it greatly anyway. I don't need everything to be fast paced action for me to enjoy it. But then again, this is coming from the guy's favorite genre, slice of life. So not hard to make me happy with a scene about a ball.
Yeah, I really dug these 2 episodes as well. Um, I really wish we got more Stark and Orden. I really love that dynamic. I wish we got more than a half an episode to it. Like, I understood why we needed to establish Sign in the first half of the first episode and to show what he could do. But I almost wish that that was a whole episode and the back half of that episode was a whole episode, just so we could have gotten more of that relationship. Not to say I didn't like episode 2 because I really enjoyed episode 2. Really hit the emotions hard. But yeah, you're right. These were definitely like lower energy in terms of like fight scenes and everything, but man, did this show hits hard on the emotional level. I will say, I was doing some digging, and this episode 16 marks the end of part 1 of the anime. I guess that aired in early to middle of December, and then they went on a mini break for the holidays, and episode 17 aired in January. And that's going to kick off part 2 of the anime. So it's going to be interesting to see where part 2 goes. It's going to be interesting to see if we get new music and where part 2 takes us.
Boy, am I excited.
And we will find that out next week. But for now, I think it's time for the
Hold on,
waifu of the
Turtle.
week.
Hold
What?
on, Turtle.
What happened? Where?
I'm cutting your waifu off real quick, but
Whoa.
you didn't give us your opinion on these 2 episodes.
Like every week, this show is the best show I think I've ever seen, and these particular episodes had some of the best animation I've ever seen. So Frieren never disappoints. I love the show. I love the show. I love the show. That's what I think. Well, I mean, to mention, Sean, what you had mentioned before, I think if I had to pick like a favorite style of anime, mine probably would be like the shonen fight stuff. I really get into that.
Well, right, yeah.
This is still like one of my favorite shows I have ever watched because it's just so well done. It's so well written. The music is great, the animation is great, the storytelling is great, the characters are interesting and fun to watch and interact with each other. So this is just a piece of brilliant media.
Well, and if shonen is your genre, though, like there's still a lot of stuff in here for you. You know what I mean? There's still action, there's still magic and fantasy, and like you know what I mean. Like so, even if you don't love the emotional aspects, there's still a fun fantasy world that they're fleshing out for us.
Absolutely. It literally has like the best of everything. There, are you happy now?
Yeah. I mean, the people want to hear your thoughts as well. You're the free rent expert.
I don't know if I'd say expert. I've only been watching these episodes twice, but I do love the show.
So he's the expert because he's like 4 episodes ahead of us.
I wish I was farther. I want more. But now it is time for the waifu of the week. Mike, I'm going to give it to you this week. You're kicking us off. Who is your waifu of the week?
This is because I interrupted you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Putting you on the spot now.
This week was really hard to pick a waifu. There were so many good options to pick from. And like with how it was split up, it was hard to like find a character that was like present across both episodes. But yeah, there were some great choices. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna go with Stark. And part of me wanted to go Stark and Orden just because of how much I really enjoyed that relationship that they had. But Stark was great these 2 episodes. Like, you had him falling asleep from the curse. You had him waking up next to Fern, moving that ship forward a little bit. And then you had him with Orden and the etiquette training and watching him learn to become a swordsman, and how you actually got to see a father figure be proud of him at one point. And then the training with Old Man Vol. Stark was money these 2 episodes. So with that, I'm going with Stark.
How about you, Sean? Who is your waifu of the week?
I'm gonna pick Old Man Vol. I really love how even after he can't remember his wife's face and voice, he's still keeping his promise to her. I think that's kind of touching in its own way. It really helps give him purpose towards the end of his life, and yeah, I think he's a good guy who his I don't know, really at the end here. So to Old Man Vol, who's lived a long and full life.
I feel like this week with these 2 episodes, there really is not a wrong answer. I think you could pick any of these characters and, have legitimate reasons to, have them be your favorite out of these 2 episodes. But I think for me, I'm going to go with the tried and true Frieren. She always seems to make me laugh. She always seems to make me cry when she gets emotional. And I just think, in these 2 episodes, I think she kind of has everything. She has these emotional moments. She has these great little comedy bits. She kind of does it all. So I'm going with Frieren this week. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched Frieren Beyond Journey's End. We hope you join us next week for episode 48 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 17 and 18 of Frieren. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews, and if you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. Sean, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I always plug the Demon Files podcast. Please give us a listen.
Mike, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, a couple things. The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. And then I would also like to plug again, just as a reminder, that to celebrate our 1st anniversary, we, as a podcast, are giving away a 3-month subscription to Crunchyroll. To enter the contest, email a screenshot of you giving the podcast a 5-star review on Spotify, and a screenshot of you being subscribed to the YouTube channel to animebanterpodcast@gmail.com. Again, a screenshot of a 5-star review on Spotify, and a screenshot of you being subscribed to the YouTube channel to animebanterpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, the email address is animebanterpodcast@gmail.com. And to enter, please do so before March 26, 2024.
We will see you all next week.